Hey guys, this is Nathan Booth, and this is IAD Week 1. I'm going to be talking about my immersive element and implementation of it real quick. So the estimated level of difficulty, it'll be decently difficult, and it's more of to get it to where I actually want it to be is going to be more difficult than actually making it. My immersive element, so you know, is basically a strategic element that requires the enemies to be varying difficulties, as in having more health, more armor, resistances, even some immunities, and just basically different traits. So giving the player a more diverse amount of enemies that they're up against. And the actual difficult part of implementing this will be making it where the player can place their towers and choose their towers to adapt to the enemies rather than making the enemies different themselves. That part's actually relatively simple. The order in which each part of your immersive element will be implemented. I'll first focus on getting the enemies to where I want them to be, so probably build about 10 to 20 waves of enemies that each, some are slower, some are faster, some have a much higher health, and so start with that. And once that's done, then the element itself will be finished, but then I'll be working on making various kinds of towers that the player can then choose to implement. What an ideal implementation would look like. For example, how the user would ideally engage with your immersive element. So, ideally, they would just basically be like, okay, I know this is the next wave that's coming up of enemies, and maybe this is going with traditional tower defense type things where you're having a maze. Maybe it's the flying enemies that are next. Now, whenever you're doing amazing type tower defense, the flying enemies traditionally just fly over whatever maze you've built. So you have to have towers in place that are able to kill them as they're flying over. These are generally faster, lower damage, range towers. And so, the player might decide to have these set up in a row down the middle of where these enemies would be flying over, as opposed to having them just spread out everywhere. That would be an ideal way for them to adapt to my immersive element. Anyways, that's my take on this week, and hopefully it all turns out the way that I'm shooting for it to, and you guys will see that at the end of this week. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you have a good night.